Shalom Ashbaka. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Welcome. So in today's lesson, I want to talk about the importance of guarding your heart, aka your mind, your soul. And it's important to keep that guarded with the commandments. You see, a lot of times when we fall short, when we trip over sin, it's because we gave in to our own understanding, our own mind, our hearts. And when we give in to these things, we fall into snares. We have unnecessary difficulties that arise. We have other traps and snares of various seriousness that come about because of our own understanding. And I want to cover some precepts that will help us all in winning the battle that our own minds forges against us. Yes. And I want to go ahead and kick this off in the book of Luke. We're going to go to Luke chapter 16, verses 15 through 17. Luke chapter 16, verses 15 through 17. And it reads, Mashiach speaking. He said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but Yah knoweth your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of Yah. Verse 16, the law and the prophets were until John. Since that time the kingdom of Yah is preached. Verse 17, and it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. So this is a powerful statement by our Messiah. He says this to the Pharisees, by the way, when he says, ye are they which justify yourselves before men. So when he tell it, anytime we know that the Messiah is speaking to the Pharisees as it's been recorded, the Messiah was always cutting them. He was always charging them up for their error. And what we do know is we do not want to take any of the traits of the Pharisees. And the Pharisees were definitely those who justify themselves before men. So they were full of pride. They had vain glory. They wanted validation from everybody except for Yah. They were hypocritical. And Mashiach told them, you are they which justify yourselves before men, but Yah knows your hearts. So one thing we need to do, Mashbaka, to not let our own hearts deceive us, is to humble ourselves. And remember, it's not about us. You know, even with the blessings that the Most High has given us, it's still not about us. All the glory, honor, praise should be going to the Most High. Because Mashiach told the Pharisees here that that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of Yah. So anything that's of high esteem among men, among humans, is an abomination to the Most High. Concerning vainglory, pride, yeah, all of that is an abomination to the Father. Vainglory and pride, vanity. Verse 16, Mashiach says, the law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of Yah is preached. And every man presseth into it. And he says, verse 17, it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. So Mashiach states the importance of keeping the commandments, of following Torah, as well as seeking the Father through Mashiach. He states that. So, you know, we know of the popular error that is constantly advocated by those who are the least of the kingdom of Yah. We must remember to keep the law with our faith in the Messiah. Let's continue on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So here's the problem. Here's the problem with our hearts. Seeking the kingdom of Yah first and his righteousness, that requires wisdom and discipline. The heart, your heart, my heart, everybody else's heart, does not care for discipline. Keeping the commandments requires discipline and wisdom. Our hearts do not care for discipline and wisdom. Our hearts care for whatever evil desires it has, whatever it lusts after, whatever cravings it desires, whatever those desires may be. That's what our heart wants. It doesn't care about wisdom, and it doesn't care about discipline, which are the two ingredients to seeking the kingdom of Yah first and the righteousness. Mashiach tells us if we seek first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, which is done through the commandments. If we seek first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, how do we know what Yah's righteousness is? He's already have it written down for us. It's his commandments. It's the law. How do we seek first the kingdom? Well, his business should be the first thing on our minds every day when we first wake up. His business should be the first thing on our minds. What is Yah's business? The word of Yah. Everything written down in our holy manuscript. And also put into action what he has commanded us. So meditating, observing, and doing the things he commands us, and also absorbing the knowledge, wisdom, understanding that is given to us by the word of Yah, is seeking first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. So we know if we do that, all these things should be added unto us. So we'll have abundance of prosperity. Mashpakah. But see, See, the problem with our hearts doesn't care for that. See, the blessings of Yah are far more nourishing and life-giving than the blessings of Hasatan. And see, our hearts, your heart and my heart, desires the quick blessings, the fast blessings, the pleasurable blessings, the carnal blessings. Our heart desires that first and foremost before it desires the blessings of Yah, which are highly more beneficial for us, which are way more powerful than us. More powerful than us, and it's more powerful for us. Mashpakah. See, the heart doesn't care anything about that wisdom and discipline in order to get those higher and more beneficial blessings. So when Hasatan comes about, Hasatan and those fallen angels, those devils, come about and trigger our lust, yeah, that's when we have an issue with our hearts. And that's why our hearts are not to be taken heed to. Mashpakah. Your heart is not going to seek first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. Your heart is going to seek whatever it wants first and foremost. So therefore, you must have a level of power, the power of Yah, to override your heart. Mashpakah. If you don't have the power of Yah, which is the Holy Spirit, Ruach Kodash, then your heart will toss you to and fro in all type of inordinate lusts and affections of this dirty, despicable world. Yeah. So continuing on, we're going to put more emphasis into this, right? We're going to get more context of seeking first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness and all these things being added unto us. Let's see what Messiah was talking about here. Let's jump to Psalms chapter 1. This is Psalms chapter 1, the entire chapter. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So Mashpakah, everything that was listed in the beginning of the first scripture, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Your heart wants to do all of that. Your heart desires to do that first and foremost. Why? Because there's a lot of pleasure that goes into that. Unrighteous rewards that go into that. Standing in the counsel of the ungodly. Walking in the counsel of the ungodly. Sitting in the seat of the scornful. And standing in the way of sinners. All that comes with a whole bunch of filthy pleasures and desires and unrighteous gains that your heart lusts for. And guess what, Mashpakah? Those same pleasures and desires and unrighteous gains come with a lot of destruction, one way or the other. Continuing on. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. That's seeking first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness right there. Psalm chapter 1, verse 2. Continuing on. So we're going to see how these things are added unto us, as Mashiach told us in Matthew 6:33. Verse 3 will start to tell us that. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So Mashpakah, you want to be abundantly provided for by the Father and the Alahayim, right? We want to be abundantly provided for by Him, by Yah and the powers of Yah, right? So when we seek first the kingdom of Yah and His righteousness, we're like a tree planted by the rivers of water. So just take time and think about that. A tree planted by the rivers of water. That tree is never going to dry out, right? That tree is going to be always fed and taken care of, being by a river of water. That tree is always going to be nourished. It will never dry out. Its leaf shall not wither. Why? Because it's constantly nourished. It has a supply near to it and providing for it. That river of water. It'll bring forth fruit. You know why? Because it is being provided for with the necessary, essential nourishment. That water from the river. So when you're provided for with such an essential force, whatever you do will prosper. You will have success in your endeavors and in many areas of your life. That's what we're learning here. Now, let's go back to the heart's desire and the traps that come with it, right? It further explains this in verse 4. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. So you know what chaff is, right? That's burnt remains. That's ash. Have you ever burnt a piece of paper and the paper leaves the ash and the wind blows it away? Yeah. So that's what the ungodly is like, right? We already know that the ungodly are given over to their hearts, whatever their heart desires. They're given over to that wicked nature of their hearts. And yeah, you may see them with certain levels of prosperity. You may see them living in certain areas of abundance in their life. But if you know any of the ungodly, like I have known them, it doesn't last long. They either crash out from some type of misfortune, or they're no longer among the living. It's one of the two. And that's what we're seeing here in verse 4. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Verse 5, therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Verse 4, Salakia. Verse 6, for the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So Mashpagah, listen here. You must see your heart as a setup. When you start to get those ungodly lusts coming from it, which will lead to you sinning, think of Psalms chapter 1, verses 4 through 6, Mashpakah. The ungodly are given over to such desires. They don't have the wisdom and discipline pertaining to the kingdom of Yah. Therefore, their gains and their advancements are provided for by Hasatan, just to be destroyed. We don't want that. We don't want that. Let's go to the next precept. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. It reads, and he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. So what was Mashiach talking about here? Deny himself. If any man is to follow or come after the Messiah, be about Yah's business, seeking first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. If any person is to do that, they must first deny themselves and take up their cross daily. What does it mean to deny yourself? It means not to listen to your heart's desires. But first and foremost, whatever your heart is saying, it must be screened and checked through the law of Yah. It must be screened and checked to see if it aligns with the commandments. That's denying yourself, Mashbaka. Stopping first and asking, okay, is it what Yah wants me to do? Okay, I want to do this, but is this good in the sight of Yah, since I want to do this? Is this Yah providing this opportunity to me? That is denying yourself first, thinking of Yah's business first besides your own. And taking up your cross. What did Mashiach mean by taking up your cross? Well, he didn't mean grab a cross and hang it up in your dwelling space. He didn't mean that. He didn't mean get some jewelry of a cross and hang it on your neck, right? He didn't mean that. What did he mean by take up the cross? He didn't mean get a wooden cross, make a cross, and keep it on you. No. All that is forms of idolatry, Mashbaka. When he said take up your cross, he means make your sacrifices daily. And those sacrifices is denying your flesh, denying your carnal desires, your carnal lusts. That is taking up your cross daily. It's denying yourself. The carnal nature of yourself is being denied for the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and instruction of Yah. That's what it means to take up your cross. You're denying your own understanding pertaining to many factors of this life. When it comes to your desires and what you want to do, you're putting Yah's will first before your own. That's denying yourself and taking up your cross daily. You may be persecuted for that, right? You may have people revile you for doing that. That's taking up your cross. That's making those sacrifices. You may have to cut some people off because they're just so wicked as hell and they don't contribute to your spiritual walk. That is taking up your cross. Hey, you may have to face a season of isolation where Yah's dealing with you and building you, where you're not having too much contact with folks. You're not doing too much socializing. But the Yah has you to himself for a while. That's taking up your cross. Marshall Cup. And Mashiach said to do this daily. You make those sacrifices daily and follow him. How do we follow the Messiah? By reading his word. Reading this word, being about Yah's business, seeking first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. That's how we follow the Messiah. Having faith in the Messiah as well as reading the book front and back. Let's continue on. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. It reads, "The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it." So how do we get such a blessing? How do we get such a blessing, Mashbaka? The blessing of the Lord maketh rich, and he add no sorrow with it. So that's the difference between the blessing of Yah and the blessing of Hasatan. Hasatan's blessings come with a whole lot of trouble. A whole lot of trouble. And if you don't know if you got a blessing from Hasatan, now you know. If you acquire something you've always wanted, but then you having all this trouble and worry and woe that come along with it or on the back end of it, you've been blessed by Hasatan. If you acquire something you've wanted, or you gain some type of success or prosperity and things just work out for you, you know, the productivity of it is very, very effective and efficient. You know, challenges are worked out phenomenally. You know, you just know there's an extra force behind everything that you're doing with that particular blessing. There's an extra force that's providing for you. And guess what? That was a blessing of Yahweh. Because we see here in Proverbs 10:22 that the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. So you're going to be well taken care of. You're going to be abundant with prosperity, with no sorrow pertaining to that success and abundance. There's going to be no sorrow with that. You're not going to have any troubles or any woes that come with that. But a blessing of Hasatan, yeah, you're going to have plenty of that. Oh yeah. Moving on. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So that's how we're going to conclude this, Mashmakar, with that precept itself. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So how do you keep your heart with diligence? Wisdom and discipline, keeping the commandments, keeping the faith of Mashiach, meditating on the word of Yah, observing the word of Yah, keeping the word of Yah with action. Yes. With all of that comes knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and power. But it provides a cost of discipline. You must have discipline to do so. You must apply yourself to these scriptures, Mashpaka. You must apply yourself, because if you don't have your mind guarded with the commandments of Yah, your heart will run wild and produce these problems in your life, these snares in your life, these dangers, these forms of destruction. All that comes by your heart, Mashpaka. We see it here. Our holy manuscript has pointed it out to us in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. We'll close out reading it again. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Shalom.